Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Mystery Channel. Tonight, we're turning our attention towards the dark waters of Loch Ness and the strange legend that has refused to go away. For generations, people have watched that deep Scottish lake and wondered whether something unknown moves beneath its surface. Some believe the answer is a rare animal. Others think the story points toward a much older mystery. And some suggest the loch itself may be helping to hide the truth. What makes the Loch Ness Monster so fascinating is not only the creature. It is the way the evidence never fully settles. A sighting appears, a photograph raises doubt, or a faint sonar trace suggests something real. Then the waters close in again, and the mystery remains. If you enjoy these curious journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is settle in. Let your shoulders relax and notice your eyes grow heavy. And as your mind begins to gently unwind, join me as we explore the enduring mystery of Loch Ness together. Let's begin. Loch Ness may hide more water than every English lake combined. That single idea changes the scale of the mystery at once. This is not a small pond with a local rumour attached to it. It is a vast trench of cold, dark water, stretching for miles through the Scottish Highlands. Its surface can look calm, yet beneath it lies enough depth to swallow landmarks, boats, and expectations. That size matters because it gives the legend room to breathe. A hidden animal, an unknown visitor, or something stranger would not need to show itself often in a place so large. Skeptics point out that volume alone does not create a monster, but believers answer that a place this immense should not be judged like an ordinary lake. The mystery begins with a simple problem. When people say nothing could hide there, they are talking about water they have barely seen. Ancient stories placed a dangerous water beast near the River Ness. Long before cameras, newspapers, and monster hunters, the region already carried stories of something frightening in the water. The most famous early account comes from the life of Saint Columba, who was said to have confronted a beast near the River Ness. Whether that tale describes a real animal, a spiritual warning, or a later legend built around a holy man, it gives the story deep roots. This matters because Nessie did not simply appear from modern publicity. The idea of a strange presence in these waters was already waiting in the culture. Some people see the old account as evidence that sightings stretch back far beyond the modern age. Others believe it shows how dangerous rivers became wrapped in religious storytelling. Either way, the river tale gives the mystery an ancient doorway, and it suggests that something unusual was being imagined there long before the name Nessie existed. The first famous modern sighting began with a roadside disturbance. The modern legend truly caught fire in the early 1930s, when a couple driving beside Loch Ness reported seeing something large near the shore. Their account did not describe a distant shape in rough water. It described a sudden moment on land, or close enough to land to feel startlingly direct. That detail made the story feel different from ordinary lake folklore. A creature that only appears as a ripple can be dismissed. A creature that seems to cross near a road enters the everyday world. The timing also mattered. A newer road had made the shoreline easier to watch, and more travelers were suddenly passing places that had once been harder to reach. Some believe this explains the increase in sightings. Others wonder whether easier access simply revealed what locals had noticed for much longer. The roadside beginning gave the mystery a modern stage, and the world leaned closer. A single blurred photograph helped turn Nessie into a global legend. The image was small, unclear, and almost impossibly powerful. It seemed to show a long neck rising from the water, with a dark form beneath it. For many people, that was enough. The photograph gave the story a shape that could be printed, copied, debated, and remembered. Before then, witnesses could describe the creature in different ways, and listeners had to imagine it for themselves. After the picture spread, Nessie gained a public outline. It looked ancient, graceful, and just believable enough to trouble the mind. Critics argued that the image was too neat and too distant. Supporters felt that its very imperfection made it feel real. A perfect photograph might have seemed staged. A blurred one allowed mystery to survive inside the frame. Whether proof, trick, or accident, it did something undeniable. It made millions of people feel they had almost seen the monster for themselves. The surgeon's photograph fooled millions before its secret finally surfaced. For decades, this image was treated as the face of the Loch Ness mystery. Its connection to a respected doctor helped it feel trustworthy, and that reputation carried enormous weight. People who might have doubted a tourist snapshot paused when they heard it came through someone with social standing. Later, the story changed. Claims emerged that the famous picture had been part of a staged revenge plot involving a small model and carefully chosen framing. To skeptics, this solved everything. To believers, it solved only one photograph. That distinction is important. A hoax can damage a legend, but it does not automatically erase every separate account. Some people even find the confession suspicious because it arrived so late and wrapped the case too neatly. The image still matters because it shows how powerful a single piece of evidence can become, especially when the world is already eager to believe. Deep sonar contacts kept appearing where no large animal was expected. Sonar changed the hunt because it moved the mystery below the surface. Instead of relying only on what people thought they saw, researchers could search the depths with sound. On several occasions, instruments recorded contacts that seemed larger or stranger than expected. These traces did not show a monster in clear detail. They appeared as marks, movements, or targets that invited interpretation. That is exactly why they became so fascinating. A visual sighting can be shaped by weather, distance, and excitement. A sonar return feels colder and harder to dismiss, even when it remains uncertain. Experts often explain such readings through fish groups, equipment quirks, underwater slopes, or drifting objects. Yet some contacts have lingered in the story because they seem to move with purpose. For believers, sonar offers the possibility that the real evidence is not at the surface at all. It may be passing silently underneath. Witnesses have described humps, necks, wakes, shadows, and impossible movement. One of the strangest features of the Loch Ness reports is how varied they are. Some people describe a long shape moving steadily through the water. Others notice a raised form, a sudden disturbance, or a motion that seems too deliberate for wind. This variety creates a problem and a temptation. Skeptics say different descriptions point toward different mistakes. A bird, a log, a seal, or a wave can each create its own illusion. Believers suggest the opposite. Perhaps witnesses are seeing different parts of the same hidden creature, or perhaps the legend covers more than one kind of phenomenon. The most intriguing accounts often focus on movement. People remember something turning, accelerating, diving, or vanishing in a way that ordinary explanations struggle to match. Memory can distort such moments, but fear and wonder can also sharpen them. That is why the witness record remains unsettled and, strangely, alive. Some researchers believe Nessie could be something stranger than one creature. The usual question is simple. Is there a large unknown animal in Loch Ness or not? But some interpretations move beyond that choice. They suggest that the monster may be a cluster of mysteries rather than a single being. A few reports could involve animals. Others could involve unusual water effects. Some might be folklore shaping perception. A small number may remain genuinely hard to explain. This view does not weaken the legend. In a way, it makes it larger. Instead of one hidden creature, Loch Ness becomes a meeting place for misdirection, memory, rare events, and possibly unknown life. More speculative thinkers go even further. They wonder whether the Loch attracts strange experiences because of its landscape, history, and atmosphere. That idea is not widely accepted, but it keeps the door open. Maybe the real mystery is not what Nessie is. Maybe it is why so many different mysteries gather there. The Loch's dark peat-stained water hides nearly everything below. Anyone imagining a clear blue lake is picturing the wrong place. Loch Ness is famous for water that turns shadowy very quickly, partly because peat from the surrounding land stains it like strong tea. This makes ordinary observation frustrating. A shape can vanish within moments. A camera can lose detail almost immediately. Even search teams with equipment face a world where distance collapses and visibility becomes stubbornly poor. That darkness is one reason the legend survives. It gives uncertainty a natural home. Skeptics say the same murkiness creates mistakes because people cannot see enough to judge size or distance. Believers respond that it also gives any hidden animal a perfect cover. Both views can be true at the same time. The Loch does not need to be magical to be mysterious. Its own water makes it difficult, secretive, and resistant to simple answers. What disappears beneath that surface becomes almost impossible to reclaim. Modern DNA testing still left room for unusual explanations. A major scientific survey collected environmental DNA from the Loch, hoping to identify what kinds of life had left genetic traces in the water. The results did not reveal a prehistoric reptile or an obvious unknown monster. They did, however, find a strong signal from eels, which immediately revived an older idea. Could some sightings involve unusually large eels moving through dark water? Many researchers treated that as a natural explanation with real weight. Yet the mystery did not end there. DNA testing can show what was sampled, but it cannot capture every moment, every depth, or every unusual visitor with perfect certainty. Some people also point out that a rare creature might leave little evidence if its population were tiny or transient. The survey narrowed the field, but it did not satisfy everyone. In classic Loch Ness fashion, a modern answer became another doorway into speculation, especially for those who believe the strangest possibilities remain just out of reach. St. Columba's encounter became the oldest surviving Nessie story. The account describes a dramatic confrontation near the waters connected to the NES system. A swimmer had reportedly been attacked, and Columba was said to have commanded the beast to stop. The creature obeyed, which made the story powerful as a tale of spiritual authority. The important question is, what sits beneath that religious frame? Was this simply a miracle story meant to honor a saint? Was it a memory of dangerous animals in the river? Or did later readers attach the account to the monster legend because it seemed to fit so well? The text does not give us a modern wildlife report, and it should not be treated as one. Still, it matters because it shows that strange water creatures belong to the mental world of the region. For people drawn to the older side of the legend, this is where Nessie becomes more than a modern celebrity. The mystery reaches back into sacred storytelling. Local Kelpie folklore may have shaped the monster before newspapers arrived. In Scottish tradition, water spirits were not cute mascots. They were dangerous presences linked to lochs, rivers, and lonely crossings. The Kelpie often appeared as a horse, but the deeper idea was broader. Water could deceive you. It could invite you closer. It could take you away. Around places like Loch Ness, such beliefs may have prepared people to interpret strange sights as living forces rather than random effects. This does not mean every legend was invented. Folklore can grow from real hazards, rare animals, and half-seen moments that communities remember through story. When modern newspapers later searched for a monster, they were not creating fear from nothing. They were tapping into an older language of water and danger. Some alternative thinkers even suggest these traditions preserve distorted memories of encounters with unknown creatures. Whether symbolic or literal, the Kelpie background gives Nessie an ancestral shadow that feels older than tourism. A new road along Loch Ness changed the mystery forever. Before the shoreline became easier to travel, fewer outsiders had long, open views across the water. The building and improvement of the road created a new kind of witness. Drivers, passengers, workers, and visitors could suddenly watch the loch from angles that had not been common in daily life. That practical change may explain why the modern wave of reports appeared when it did. More eyes create more sightings, especially in a place where weather and distance can confuse perception. But there is another possibility that keeps the story exciting. Perhaps people had been seeing unusual things for generations, and the road simply allowed those moments to reach the wider world. A mystery needs observers before it can become famous. The road supplied them. It transformed a remote highland lake into a moving theater of glimpses. Every bend could reveal water, and every patch of water could become a question. Early motorists reported strange crossings near the newly opened shoreline. Some of the most memorable early reports did not involve people staring across the loch for hours. They involved sudden shocks from the road. Witnesses claimed to see large shapes moving near the shore or crossing close to where cars passed. These stories mattered because they pulled the creature out of the distant water and placed it beside modern life. A motorist could be thinking about the road ahead, then look up and become part of a legend. Skeptics have suggested otters, deer, shadows, or excitement caused by a newly fashionable monster story. Yet the land-based reports remain fascinating because they are harder to fit into the familiar idea of a wave mistaken for a beast. They also raise strange possibilities. If something large were present, why would it come near land? Was it moving between habitats, basking, feeding, or simply being misread in a dramatic moment? The roadside accounts gave Nessie an unsettling closeness. Hugh Gray's photograph became the first major visual clue. In 1933, a man named Hugh Gray took a photograph that became one of the earliest famous images in the case. The picture is difficult to read. Some viewers see a bulky form in the water, possibly with movement around it. Others see a dog, a splash, or an ordinary disturbance transformed by expectation. Its importance lies not in clarity, but in timing. It arrived when the story was gathering force, and it gave the public something physical to argue over. A witness statement can fade, but an image invites repeated inspection. People can point to one area, reject another, enhance a shape, or decide the whole thing is meaningless. The Gray photograph became a kind of test. What do you see when evidence is suggestive but not decisive? That question has followed the Loch Ness mystery ever since. The first major picture did not close the case. It taught everyone how unresolved it would be. The missing original negative made the Gray image harder to settle. Photographs are never just pictures. They are objects with histories, and those histories can strengthen or weaken trust. In the case of Hugh Gray's image, the absence of the original negative created an extra layer of uncertainty. Without it, investigators had fewer ways to examine the photograph at its source. Copies can lose detail. Reproductions can deepen shadows. Contrast can change what people think they are seeing. That matters enormously when the subject is already unclear. Skeptics could argue that no firm conclusion should be built on a weakened chain of evidence. Believers could answer that the loss of an original does not automatically make the image worthless. It simply makes it harder to judge. This is a recurring pattern in the Nessie story. A clue appears, then something about its condition, history, or handling keeps certainty out of reach. The missing negative became part of the mystery because it denied everyone a cleaner answer. Arthur Grant claimed something huge crossed the road at night. In January 1934, a veterinary student named Arthur Grant reported a startling encounter while riding his motorcycle near the loch. He said a large creature crossed the road ahead of him and moved toward the water. The details were dramatic because Grant was not describing a distant ripple. He claimed to see a body, a long neck, and movement on land. His background made the report especially interesting, since people assumed he might be better prepared than most to judge an animal's form. Critics later suggested he had misidentified an otter, especially under dark and difficult conditions. Others found that explanation too small for what he described. The story endures because it gives Nessie a strange physicality. It is one thing to imagine a hidden swimmer. It is another to picture something leaving the water and crossing a highland road under the beam of a motorcycle lamp. That image still unsettles the case. Marmaduke Wetherell found strange footprints that embarrassed a major newspaper. When the monster story exploded, a well-known newspaper sent Marmaduke Wetherell to investigate. He soon reported finding large tracks near the shore, and the discovery seemed to promise the kind of evidence everyone wanted. Footprints feel direct. They suggest weight, contact, and a body pressing into the ground. For a moment, the hunt appeared to have moved beyond rumor. Then the tracks were examined and exposed as misleading. They had apparently been made with the foot of a hippopotamus, likely from an object used as a novelty or ashtray. The embarrassment was enormous. A serious investigation had stumbled into farce, and the public learned that Nessie evidence could be manufactured. Yet the episode did not kill the mystery. Instead, it added distrust, rivalry, and wounded pride to the story. Some later accounts of revenge and fakery grew from this humiliation, making the footprint scandal one of the strangest turning points in the legend. The hippo foot hoax damaged the hunt, but not the legend. A fake track should have been devastating. In an ordinary mystery, exposure of such a trick might have made the public turn away. But Loch Ness proved more resilient than that. The hoax showed that people were willing to deceive, exaggerate, or chase fame through the monster story. It also gave skeptics a powerful example to cite whenever new evidence appeared. Yet the legend survived because it did not depend on one footprint trail. There were older stories, fresh sightings, unclear photographs, and a setting that continued to invite belief. Some people even argue that hoaxes can gather around genuine mysteries because attention attracts opportunists. That idea is convenient, but it is also psychologically interesting. A false clue does not always erase the question behind it. Instead, it can make the whole subject more tangled. The hippo foot episode left a warning at the edge of the water. Trust nothing too quickly, but keep looking. Robert Wilson refused to attach his name to the famous photograph. The doctor linked to the most iconic Nessie image did not present himself as a monster hunter. He reportedly avoided turning the photograph into a personal campaign, which made the picture feel more credible to many viewers. A hoaxer usually wants attention, or so people assumed. His reluctance created a powerful impression of distance. It seemed like evidence offered without performance. That was one reason the image traveled so far through public imagination. Later claims of trickery complicated that impression, but the early restraint remains important. It shows how credibility is often built not only by what evidence shows, but by how witnesses behave around it. A confident promoter can make people suspicious. A reserved figure can make them lean in. In the Nessie story, personality becomes part of the evidence whether anyone admits it or not. Wilson's careful distance helped the photograph become more than a picture. It became an object people wanted to trust. Christian Sperling's confession raised more questions than it answered. Late in life, Christian Sperling claimed that the famous image had been created with a small model, built on a toy submarine, then photographed in a way that made it look far larger. For skeptics, that sounded like the missing key. At last, the most iconic piece of evidence had a practical explanation. But the confession also opened a new puzzle. Why did the secret wait so many decades? Why did the story depend on memories from people tied to earlier humiliation around the monster hunt? And why did the image become so perfect for the public imagination? A tiny model, if that is truly what it was, ended up changing the visual language of the entire legend. Some people accept the confession as final. Others feel that it explains the photograph while leaving the wider mystery untouched. One exposed trick cannot account for every witness, every instrument reading, or every strange moment on the loch. Some believers still argue the hoax story arrived too neatly. The explanation sounds almost designed to close the case. A staged model, a motive for revenge, a famous image reduced to a clever trick. For many investigators, that is enough. Yet there are people who find the neatness itself suspicious. They point out that old confessions can be shaped by fading memory, family loyalties, and the human desire to be part of a famous story. A dramatic reveal can become as seductive as the mystery it claims to solve. This does not mean the photograph was genuine. It means the story around the story remains uneasy. The Loch Ness legend has always been full of evidence that almost settles something, then slips away. Even the debunking became part of that pattern. Some people prefer a clean answer. Others notice that the cleanest answers often arrive after the public has already chosen what it wants to believe. Tim Dinsdale filmed a moving shape that changed his entire life. In 1960, an aeronautical engineer named Tim Dinsdale visited Loch Ness and captured film of a dark form moving across the water. The footage did not show a clear creature. It showed motion, and that was enough to pull him into the mystery for decades. What made the episode so compelling was his reaction to it. He did not treat the moment as a lucky curiosity. He reorganized his life around the search, returning again and again with equipment, discipline, and conviction. Skeptics argued that the shape could have been a boat seen under misleading conditions. Dinsdale insisted it behaved differently. That difference became the heart of the debate. Was the film a mistaken observation by a serious man, or a rare glimpse of something hidden? His dedication made the footage more than a visual clue. It became a portrait of what one unresolved sighting can do to a person. Military image experts once examined Dinsdale's film with serious interest. The footage gained unusual weight when it was studied beyond the world of casual monster enthusiasts. Analysts connected with official technical experience examined the moving object and considered whether it matched an ordinary boat. That kind of attention mattered because it suggested the mystery was not only a tourist tale. Serious people were willing to look closely, even if they did not all reach the same conclusion. The debate centered on speed, shape, wake, and apparent movement across the surface. Supporters believed the object was animate, or at least not easily explained. Critics remained cautious and argued that film quality, distance, and expectations could create false impressions. What makes this chapter so fascinating is the collision between folklore and analysis. A dark, moving shape on a Highland lake was being assessed with methods usually reserved for practical problems. The legend briefly entered a room of measurements and still refused to behave like a solved case. The Dinsdale object still divides viewers frame by frame. Watching the old film today can feel strangely frustrating. One viewer sees a powerful living form pushing through the water. Another sees a boat with its details swallowed by distance and poor resolution. The same sequence can create two completely different experiences because the image sits right on the edge of recognition. That is where Loch Ness has always been strongest. It offers just enough to engage the mind, but not enough to end the argument. Every frame becomes a small courtroom. People examine the wake, the dark shape, the angle of travel, and the way the object seems to sit in the water. Then they bring their own expectations to the verdict. If you already think the monster is possible, the film feels like a breakthrough. If you begin with doubt, it feels like a lesson in misperception. The object remains powerful because it never quite becomes one thing. Sonar sweeps have sometimes found targets larger than ordinary fish. When sound waves entered the search, the mystery gained a new kind of evidence. A sonar scream does not give you a face, a neck, or a legend. It gives you a contact, a return, a shape suggested by echo. That makes it both exciting and maddening. Over the years, several expeditions reported underwater targets that seemed too large or too distinct to ignore. Some may have been groups of fish. Others could have been equipment errors, sloping walls, or drifting material suspended in the depths. Yet a few readings have remained memorable because they appeared where nothing dramatic was expected. For those who believe in something hidden, sonar feels like the loch speaking in its own language. It does not show the creature. It hints at movement below the range of ordinary sight. That hint is enough to keep the deeper version of the legend alive. Operation Deep Scan created a moving wall of sound across the loch. In 1987, a major search brought boats across Loch Ness in a coordinated line, using sonar to scan the water with unusual ambition. The idea was simple and dramatic. If something large lived there, perhaps a sweeping formation could catch it. The operation drew worldwide attention because it looked like the most organized attempt yet to confront the legend on its own territory. This was not a lone watcher with binoculars. It was a systematic push across a famous body of water. The results did not reveal a captured monster or a clear animal shape. Still, the event mattered because it showed how seriously the question had entered public life. A folk creature had inspired a technological campaign. Some people saw the outcome as a failure. Others saw it as proof of how hard the loch is to read. The search ended, but the feeling remained that something had been missed. Several unexplained sonar hits appeared during the biggest search. The most intriguing part of that major operation was not a clean discovery. It was a small group of contacts that refused to be easily filed away. During the sweep, sonar operators recorded targets that appeared unusual enough to attract attention. They did not prove a monster. They did not give researchers a body, a photograph, or a biological sample. But they kept the search from becoming empty. That is why they still matter in the story. A complete absence of odd readings would have strengthened the skeptical case. Instead, the equipment seemed to say that the water contained moments worth investigating. Explanations have been offered, including fish clusters and technical confusion. Yet the timing gave those returns a special power. During the most public hunt for Nessie, the loch produced signals that could be read as a final tease. It was as though the mystery offered just enough to survive another generation. Adrian. Shine spent decades turning folklore into serious fieldwork. Few figures changed the tone of the Loch Ness search as much as Adrian Shine. He approached the subject with curiosity, patience, and a willingness to test ideas rather than simply repeat them. That made him important because the legend needed more than believers and debunkers shouting across the water. It needed someone prepared to ask what the loch could actually support, what witnesses might be seeing, and how natural processes could create extraordinary reports. His work helped move the discussion toward ecology, underwater surveys, and careful observation. Yet this did not drain the mystery of interest. In some ways, it made the place more fascinating. The more closely the loch was studied, the more complex it became. A serious searcher can reduce weak claims while making the strongest questions sharper. Shine's long involvement reminds us that wonder does not always require certainty. Sometimes the deepest mystery is the patience to keep looking properly. Robert Rhines searched the depths with cameras, sonar, and patience. An American lawyer and inventor, Robert Rhines brought an intensely practical spirit to the hunt. He did not only want stories from the surface, he wanted evidence from below, gathered with equipment capable of seeing where human eyes could not. His expeditions used sonar and underwater photography in hopes of catching something large in the darkness. The results became famous, controversial, and deeply debated. Supporters believed some images showed parts of a large, unknown animal. Critics argued that the shapes were too unclear and could be explained by debris, light, or wishful interpretation. Rhines remained one of the more serious names in the field because he tried to meet the mystery with instruments rather than pure excitement. That is what makes his chapter compelling. He treated Loch Ness as a place where extraordinary claims deserved an extraordinary search. The images did not settle the case, but they pulled the legend into deeper water. The famous flipper photograph inspired excitement, criticism, and endless debate. One underwater image became especially famous because some viewers believed it showed a limb like a flipper. If true, that would suggest a large aquatic animal with a form far more unusual than any ordinary fish. The possibility was thrilling. It seemed to give the monster a body part, not just a silhouette. But the excitement met fierce criticism. Questions arose about enhancement, interpretation, and whether the original image supported what later versions appeared to show. The controversy became a perfect example of how Nessie evidence changes as people handle it. A vague underwater shape can become stronger through processing, then weaker when others challenge the method. Believers saw a hidden creature briefly revealed. Skeptics saw the danger of turning shadows into anatomy. The photograph remains fascinating because it shows the boundary between discovery and projection. In Loch Ness, even a possible flipper can become a whole battlefield of belief. Underwater visibility made every camera search far harder than expected. The dream sounds simple. Lower a camera into the loch and wait for the truth to swim past. The reality is far more difficult. Visibility underwater can be extremely poor, and light does not travel cleanly through the stained depths. A camera may capture drifting particles, nearby debris, or darkness that hides scale completely. Even a large animal could pass beyond useful range and remain unseen. This matters because many people assume the lack of a clear underwater photograph ends the mystery. But a place can be searched many times without becoming transparent. Equipment has limits. Positioning matters. Timing matters even more. A rare event can be missed by a lens pointed a few degrees away. Skeptics still argue that decades of effort should have produced something better. Believers answer that the loch is almost designed to frustrate cameras. The deeper the search goes, the more the water itself becomes part of the mystery. The loch's steep sides create sudden depths close to shore. Loch Ness is not shaped like a shallow recreational lake. In many places, the bottom drops away quickly, which means deep water can sit surprisingly close to land. That detail makes certain sightings more interesting. A large animal would not need to travel far from the shore before finding cover. A witness could see something near the edge, then lose it almost instantly as it moved into darker depth. The shape of the basin also affects how people judge distance and size. A form that looks close may sit over a much deeper space than expected. For monster hunters, the steep sides make the loch feel like a flooded corridor with hiding places built into its geometry. For skeptics, they create visual confusion and dramatic misjudgments. Either way, the landscape is not passive. It shapes the mystery. The monster is not imagined in just any water. It belongs to a place with sudden depth. Hidden caves remain one of the legend's most persistent ideas. The cave theory has a powerful hold because it solves a problem the imagination keeps returning to. If something large lives in Loch Ness, where does it hide? The answer many people want is simple. It slips into openings beneath the water, waits in darkness, and emerges only rarely. This idea has appeared in local talk, speculative books, and late-night conversations for decades. It gives the monster a lair, which makes the legend feel complete. Scientific searches have not confirmed a network of vast chambers capable of housing a breeding population, and many experts are doubtful. Still, the thought is hard to shake. Deep water, rocky walls, and poor visibility invite the possibility of spaces beyond ordinary reach. Some people treat the caves as literal hiding places. Others see them as symbols of everything the loch withholds. The theory survives because it answers one emotional question. Where does the unknown go? Geologists disagree about how useful underwater cave theories really are. The idea of secret chambers sounds irresistible, but the physical landscape must be considered. Geological studies suggest that Loch Ness is dramatic, deep, and shaped by ancient forces. Yet that does not automatically mean it contains monster-sized caverns. Some specialists argue that the rock conditions do not support the kind of hidden cave system imagined by enthusiasts. Others leave room for smaller cracks, overhangs, and irregular spaces that could confuse sonar or shelter ordinary life. The debate is important because it separates a thrilling story from what the ground may actually allow. A creature does not need a fantasy cave to remain elusive, but a cave would make the legend easier to picture. That is why the theory keeps returning even when evidence is thin. People want the loch to have secret rooms. Geology may not grant that wish, but it does not remove the larger unease created by such a deep and complicated basin. Ancient faults beneath Loch Ness add drama to every strange report. The loch lies along the Great Glen Fault, a major feature that cuts across Scotland and gives the landscape its long, striking form. This geological setting makes the place feel older and more powerful than an ordinary lake. It also invites unusual explanations. Some people have wondered whether movements in the fault could disturb the water, release bubbles, or create surface effects that witnesses interpret as living motion. Others go further and imagine that deep geological energy might somehow connect with stranger phenomena. That idea sits outside mainstream science, but it belongs to the speculative edge of the legend. The fault matters even without wilder theories, because it reminds us that Loch Ness was shaped by immense natural forces. Its mystery is built into a scar through the Highlands. When a witness reports a sudden disturbance, the setting itself seems to ask whether something beneath the surface may have moved, even if not in the way they imagined. Small earthquakes may explain some sightings, sounds, and sudden waves. Minor tremors in the region have been suggested as one possible source for odd events on the loch. A small earthquake might disturb sediment, send vibrations through water, or create movements that seem to arrive without a visible cause. To a person standing on the shore, a sudden ripple or rolling motion could feel deeply strange, especially if no boat is nearby. This explanation is attractive because it gives the mystery a natural trigger that remains mostly hidden. You do not need a monster to create a surprising surface event, but the theory cannot easily explain every detailed report, especially those involving shapes that appear to travel with intention. That is where the discussion becomes interesting. Perhaps some sightings are geological mistakes, while others belong in different categories. Loch Ness may not have one explanation. It may have many. The tremor idea turns the ground beneath the water into another suspect in the case. Long-standing wakes can travel quietly after boats disappear. A boat can leave behind more than a fading line. Under the right conditions, its wake can continue moving long after the vessel is out of sight. On Loch Ness, where scale can be difficult to judge, that wake may look like a dark body traveling with purpose. This explanation has fooled many careful observers in other waters, and it deserves attention here. Imagine standing on the shore after a boat has passed beyond a bend. The surface begins to lift, a shape seems to form, and no obvious source remains. The mind naturally searches for a cause. For skeptics, delayed wakes explain a large number of reports without requiring anything unusual. Yet witnesses often insist that what they saw rose, turned, or behaved differently from ordinary water. The fascination lies in their tension. A wake can imitate life, but some reports seem to resist being flattened into wave mechanics. The loch keeps both possibilities moving. Standing waves may turn ordinary water into convincing monster shapes. Water can create illusions that feel surprisingly solid. A standing wave may remain in place or appear to rise in a way that confuses the eye. From a distance, it can look like a hump, a back, or a dark object holding its position against the surface. Loch Ness provides the right ingredients for such effects because wind, shoreline shape, and depth can interact in complicated ways. This explanation is not dull. It shows how the loch can generate its own monsters without needing a creature at all. The surface becomes active, patterned, and deceptive. Still, the theory does not satisfy everyone. Some witnesses describe movement across the water rather than a fixed form. Others report features that appear and vanish too deliberately. For the open-minded listener, standing waves offer a beautiful complication. Even when Nessie is not present, the loch may know how to perform Nessie perfectly. Psyches can make the loch move without an obvious cause. A psyche is a natural rocking motion in an enclosed body of water, often compared to water sloshing in a giant basin. In Loch Ness, this effect can shift the surface in ways that are not immediately tied to wind or passing boats. To an observer, the result may seem unsettling. Water moves, levels change, and distant disturbances can appear disconnected from any visible source. This matters because many sightings begin with something simple. A wake appears where no wake should be. A line of motion crosses an otherwise calm surface. A dark shape seems to rise because the water around it is behaving oddly. Skeptics see psyches as an elegant explanation for certain reports. Believers argue that the most compelling sightings contain more than surface motion. Both sides may be right in different cases. The psych theory gives Loch Ness a hidden rhythm, and that rhythm can make the impossible feel momentarily real. Otters have fooled witnesses more often than many people expect. An otter seems too small to explain a monster until you picture it at distance, in low light, from a vast and unfamiliar body of water. Several otters swimming in a line can create the impression of humps. A single animal surfacing and diving can look larger when the viewer has no reliable scale. Their movements are smooth, deliberate, and alive in exactly the way waves are not. That makes them strong candidates for some sightings. The idea is especially persuasive for brief encounters near the shore. Yet it also has limits. Not every witness described something otter-sized, and some accounts involve distances or shapes that feel difficult to reduce so neatly. The otter explanation is valuable because it shows how a real animal can become a legendary one through timing and perspective. It also leaves a playful thought behind. Perhaps part of the monster has always been ordinary wildlife, wearing the loch's magnifying glass. Swimming deer can look enormous in the right conditions. The deer crossing water can create a surprisingly strange silhouette. The head and neck rise above the surface, while the body remains hidden. From far away, that simple arrangement may resemble the classic long neck image associated with the monster. Add poor light, distance, and a witness who does not expect to see a deer in the middle of a deep loch, and the mistake becomes understandable. This explanation has been raised many times because deer are real, present, and capable of swimming. It works best for sightings that involve a neck-like shape, moving steadily across open water. Still, it does not solve the entire case. Some reports describe multiple humps, unusual speed, or sudden disappearance. Those details keep the debate alive. The deer theory is fascinating because it shows how the monster can be built by absence. Hide the body under dark water, and a familiar animal becomes something ancient. Birds on calm water may create the famous long neck illusion. A water bird seen at a distance can look much stranger than expected, especially when most of its body blends into the surface. The head and neck may stand out while the rest remains nearly invisible. If the bird dives, the disappearance can feel sudden and eerie. If it turns, the shape may seem to change in ways the viewer struggles to understand. This explanation is practical, but it does not make the mystery boring. It reveals how small details become powerful when the setting is large and uncertain. A bird does not need to be rare to create a rare impression. The right angle can enlarge it. The right expectation can transform it. Skeptics consider birds a likely source for many long neck reports. Believers answer that the strongest witnesses describe something far more substantial. Between those positions sits the real fascination. The loch can turn ordinary life into a creature from another age. Floating logs sometimes rise, roll, and vanish like living things. Wood in deep water can behave in ways that look almost intentional. A submerged log may surface after gases build within it. It may roll, tilt, drift, then sink again as balance changes. From the shore, that sequence can seem like a creature rising for air before disappearing. This explanation is especially useful because it accounts for a sudden appearance without requiring an animal. It also fits a lake surrounded by natural debris and changing conditions. But the log theory has its own weakness. Many witnesses describe movement that appears directed rather than passive. A floating object should drift with wind or current, not travel with purpose. That is why this explanation often works for some cases and fails to satisfy others. Still, it deserves a place in the mystery because it shows how the loch can animate dead matter. Under the right conditions, even a piece of wood can act out a monster story. Gas bubbles from the depths can disturb the surface unexpectedly. Sometimes the mystery may begin below the bottom rather than below the water. Organic material can produce gas, and trapped bubbles may rise through the loch in sudden releases. When they reach the surface, they can create circles, swelling patches, or brief disturbances that seem to come from nowhere. To a person watching from a boat or shore, the effect may feel as if something has moved underneath. This idea is not as glamorous as a hidden creature, but it has a strange appeal. It turns the loch into an active system, capable of sending signals upward without warning. Some people connect such disturbances to reports of sudden boils or unexplained motion. Others argue that bubbles cannot account for sightings involving shapes, travel, or apparent bodies. The possibility remains useful because it explains how the water itself can start a legend in miniature. A brief eruption, witnessed at the wrong moment, becomes a story that travels. Eels remain one of the strongest natural Nessie explanations. The eel theory has survived because it fits several pieces of the puzzle better than many alternatives. Eels live hidden lives, move with a serpentine motion, and can appear startling when seen at the surface. Their bodies are long enough to suggest something unfamiliar, especially in dark water where full scale is hard to judge. The idea became even more interesting when modern sampling found a strong eel presence in the loch. That does not prove giant specimens exist, but it keeps the possibility alive in a grounded way. Skeptics often prefer eels because they require no prehistoric survivor and no supernatural doorway. Believers sometimes accept them only as part of the answer. They ask whether an unusually large eel could explain the most dramatic reports, or whether something else is still being hidden behind a convenient natural label. The theory is compelling because it sits between colon biology and the edge of the extraordinary. Giant eel theories gained attention after the modern DNA study, when environmental sampling detected abundant eel genetic material in Loch Ness. The public conversation shifted. The test did not announce a monster, but it did revive a creature that had always seemed plausible in the shadows. A giant eel would not need a long neck, a flipper, or a dinosaur ancestry. It would only need to be far larger than expected, surfacing rarely enough to remain elusive. That possibility excited many people because it felt both natural and strange. It did not destroy the legend. It gave it a new body. Researchers were careful about the limits of the finding, since DNA cannot measure the size of every animal that left traces. Critics argued that ordinary eels were enough to explain the result. Yet the imagination moved quickly. In a loch already famous for hidden forms, the idea of an oversized eel became a modern version of Nessie that science had not entirely ruled out. Some witnesses insist their sightings moved unlike any eel. The eel explanation is strong, but it meets resistance from people who remember more than a long shape. Some describe bulk, height above the water, or a motion that seemed powerful rather than serpentine. Others report humps, wakes, or a sudden dive that felt unlike a fish slipping away. These accounts are difficult because they depend on human memory, which can be unreliable, especially during shock. Yet witnesses often speak with conviction because the moment felt clear to them. They are not always claiming to know what they saw. They are saying what it did not resemble. That negative certainty matters in mystery stories. It keeps simple answers from closing every door. Perhaps the observers were mistaken. Perhaps the eel model explains many cases but not all. Or perhaps Nessie is not one explanation wearing different masks. The disagreement reminds us that evidence is not only about objects in water, it is also about how unforgettable movement can feel. Sturgeon have been suggested because they look prehistoric and armored. A sturgeon is a remarkable animal to imagine in the Loch Ness story because it already looks like something from deep time. With its long body, ridged back, and unusual profile, it can seem ancient even when it is simply a real fish. Some species can grow very large, which makes the suggestion tempting. If a sturgeon entered the system, a brief sighting could become spectacular. The theory has one major attraction. It offers a natural animal that could look monstrous without needing to be unknown. However, it also faces problems. Loch Ness is not usually treated as ideal sturgeon habitat, and confirmed evidence for such a visitor is lacking. Still, the idea persists because it explains why a witness might honestly see something that feels prehistoric. A sturgeon does not need to be mythical to look impossible. In the right water, at the right distance, it could become a living fossil passing through legend. Atlantic seals occasionally enter inland waters and create brief confusion. A seal in unexpected water can become a monster very quickly. These animals surface, roll, dive, and show dark, rounded shapes that appear and vanish with surprising control. If one entered the connected waterways and appeared in or near Loch Ness, a witness unfamiliar with seals in that setting might describe something far stranger. This explanation works especially well for reports involving heads, humps, and smooth diving behavior. It also has the advantage of being biologically realistic. Seals do travel, and unusual visitors are easier to accept than an unknown breeding population. But the theory is limited by timing. A seal should eventually be recognized, reported clearly, or seen by multiple people under better conditions. That does not always happen. Still, the idea adds an important category to the mystery. Not every strange creature in the loch has to belong there permanently. Some may be temporary visitors, passing through just long enough to disturb the legend. A lost Greenland shark theory sounds strange but keeps returning. The idea seems unlikely at first, which is exactly why it has such strange staying power. Greenland sharks are deep water animals with an ancient look, a slow presence, and a reputation for living in cold northern seas. Some people have wondered whether a confused or trapped individual could have entered connected waters long ago, then inspired rare sightings from below. The theory is not widely accepted, and it faces obvious problems of habitat, access, and survival. Yet it remains fascinating because it offers a living creature that already feels almost impossible. These sharks can seem like survivors from another world without requiring a prehistoric reptile. Their slow movement could explain why sightings are rare. Their size could explain why certain witnesses felt they were seeing something far beyond a fish. The idea may be biologically difficult, but as a late-night possibility, it keeps the loch connected to the hidden life of the deep ocean. Plesiosaur believers imagine a survivor from an ancient ocean world. This is the version of Nessie that captured the world's imagination. A long neck rises from dark water, and suddenly the monster seems like a living relic from the age of marine reptiles. The image is powerful because it turns Loch Ness into a refuge from extinction. In this telling, the creature is not merely unknown. It is history itself refusing to end. Critics point out that plesiosaurs were air-breathing reptiles, and a population would need to surface often enough to be noticed clearly. They also question how such animals could survive in a cold, freshwater lake formed long after their supposed extinction. Believers answer with possibility rather than certainty. They imagine hidden adaptation, rare surfacing, or a creature that only resembles a plesiosaur. The theory survives because it is cinematic, simple, and unforgettable. It lets people wonder whether the past still has one living secret left. Critics argue one breeding population would need far more evidence. A single monster is exciting, but biology usually asks for a family. If Nessie were a lasting animal population, there would need to be enough individuals to reproduce across generations. That raises difficult questions. Where are the remains? Where are the young? Why has nobody captured a clear image of several animals together? Skeptics use this argument because it moves the debate away from one dramatic sighting and into long-term survival. A lake cannot support a legend forever without leaving traces, or so they argue. Yet believers often respond by changing the frame. Perhaps the creature is not a permanent population. Perhaps it is rare, migratory, or not an animal in the ordinary sense. Some people even suggest that the most puzzling reports involve temporary appearances rather than a stable species. The breeding problem is powerful because it forces every creature theory to explain not only a sighting, but an entire hidden life. Supporters suggest rare surfacing could explain the missing remains. The absence of bones is one of the strongest skeptical arguments, but it is not the end of the conversation. Some believers argue that animals in deep water may leave little visible evidence if their bodies sink, break down, or become covered by sediment. Others suggest that if the creature is extremely rare, there simply may not be many remains to find. This idea does not prove anything, but it challenges the assumption that a carcass would conveniently wash ashore. Loch Ness is cold, deep, and difficult to search at the bottom. It is not a tidy display case for evidence. Of course, critics respond that after so many decades, something definite should have appeared. Their challenge remains serious. Still, the missing remains question keeps the debate alive because both sides can make sense. One side asks where the body is. The other asks why anyone expects the loch to give one up. No confirmed bones have ever solved the central mystery. For all the photographs, stories, films, and sonar contacts, nobody has produced a verified skeleton that proves a large unknown creature lives in Loch Ness. That fact matters because bones have a kind of authority that eyewitness accounts do not. They can be measured, compared, stored, and tested. A single confirmed specimen would change the entire conversation overnight. Instead, the record is filled with suggestive clues that stop short of biological proof. Skeptics see the absence as devastating. Believers see it as frustrating but not fatal. They point to the size of the loch, the difficulty of searching the bottom, and the possibility that rare events leave rare traces. Some alternative voices go further and suggest the creature may not fit normal expectations of life and death. The lack of remains creates a silence at the heart of the case. It is not glamorous, but it is one of the biggest reasons the mystery remains unresolved. The food supply problem challenges every large animal theory. A monster cannot live on mystery alone. Any large creature would need enough nourishment to survive, grow, and perhaps reproduce. This question forces the legend into practical territory. Loch Ness contains fish and other life, but many researchers argue that it does not provide enough food for a hidden population of giant animals. That argument is difficult to dismiss because energy has rules. A large predator leaves pressure on its environment. It needs prey, space, and a living system that can support it. Believers often respond by suggesting the creature may not be as large as the most dramatic reports claim. Others propose that it could move in and out of the loch through connected waterways. More speculative thinkers wonder whether the whole question assumes the wrong kind of being. The food problem is fascinating because it makes the monster feel physical. It asks what Nessie eats when nobody is watching, and whether the loch could afford such a secret. Some alternative theories propose a creature that visits through hidden routes. One way around the survival problem is to imagine Nessie as a visitor rather than a resident. In this version, the loch is not a permanent home. It is a stop along a route that remains poorly understood. The idea appeals to people who find a breeding population unlikely, but still believe some sightings involve real animals. A temporary creature would explain why evidence is scarce. It might enter, remain for a while, then leave before searchers arrive. Critics say the known connections do not support anything large moving unseen with ease. Yet the theory remains attractive because it makes the monster more elusive and less predictable. Some people stretch the idea into stranger territory, suggesting routes beneath the landscape or passages not yet mapped. That is speculative, but it shows how the legend adapts under pressure. When one explanation becomes difficult, the mystery moves. It slips from a hidden resident into a rare arrival. The Caledonian Canal keeps alive the idea of moving animals. The canal system connects bodies of water across the Great Glen, creating a route through the Highlands that feels almost designed for speculation. For practical minds, it is a navigation link. For monster hunters, it raises a tantalizing question. Could unusual animals move through connected waters and appear where nobody expects them? This does not mean a giant creature is slipping past locks and observers unnoticed. That would be difficult to accept without clear evidence. But the existence of a watery corridor helps the imagination. It reminds us that Loch Ness is not isolated in the way many people picture. It belongs to a larger chain of lochs, rivers, and engineered passages. Seals, fish, and other animals can travel in surprising ways when water systems connect. The canal gives the visitor theory a physical anchor. It lets people imagine Nessie not as a trapped monster, but as part of a wider Highland puzzle. River connections inspire claims that Nessie may not stay trapped. The idea of the creature being locked inside the loch is only one version of the story. Water moves through the region, and that movement creates possibilities. Some people argue that unusual animals could enter from connected routes, appear briefly, then vanish back into a larger system. This explanation helps answer why sightings can be intense during certain periods, then fade. It also explains why searches may miss their target. A visitor is harder to find than a resident. Skeptics point out that large animals would still face barriers, shallow sections, human activity, and the simple problem of being noticed. Yet the theory has a certain logic for those who find permanent survival unlikely. It shifts the mystery from one lake to a network. The monster becomes less like a thing in a tank and more like a traveler passing through. That image keeps the story open because the search area suddenly feels much bigger. Loch Ness monster stories create a wider Scottish lake mystery. Loch Ness is the famous name, but it is not the only Scottish water with a creature story. Loch Ness has its own legend, often centered on a mysterious being known as Morag. This matters because it suggests that Nessie may belong to a broader pattern rather than a single isolated rumor. Two deep Highland lochs, both tied to strange sightings, make the imagination work harder. Are these stories independent traditions shaped by similar landscapes? Are people misreading the same natural effects in different places? Or is there a wider class of unknown animal moving through remote waters? Skeptics prefer cultural and environmental explanations. Believers see the second legend as support. The comparison is powerful because it removes Loch Ness from its celebrity bubble. It asks whether Scotland's deep waters have been producing similar mysteries for longer than modern tourism admits. Once you look beyond one loch, the map begins to feel crowded with unanswered stories. Morag and Nessie are sometimes treated as related unknown creatures. The comparison between the two legends is irresistible. Both are tied to deep Scottish freshwater. Both are described through sudden appearances, unusual movement, and local testimony. Some people treat them as cousins in the same mystery family. That does not mean the creatures, if they exist, would be identical. One could be a large fish. Another could be a misidentified animal. Both could be shaped by folklore, yet the repeated pattern keeps the question alive. If similar reports appear in similar places, perhaps the environment itself creates the effect. Or perhaps something rare favors these cold, deep basins. More speculative voices imagine a hidden species spread across multiple lochs, appearing just often enough to seed legends. Critics ask where the evidence is. The fascination lies in the connection. A single monster can be dismissed as local exaggeration. A network of water beasts begins to feel like a tradition with deeper roots. Scottish waterhorse legends may preserve memories of real sightings. The old waterhorse stories are often treated as folklore, but folklore can carry echoes of real experience. Across Scotland, tales warned of dangerous beings near water. They changed shape in the telling, but the central warning remained strong. Stay cautious around dark places where the surface gives nothing away. Some people think these legends may preserve distorted memories of rare animal encounters, drownings, or strange movements seen at twilight. Others believe they are symbolic tales that taught respect for unpredictable water. The Loch Ness Monster sits comfortably inside this older world because it also combines fear, fascination, and uncertainty. A modern sighting report may sound very different from an old tale, yet both begin with the same human reaction. Something was seen near water, and it did not feel ordinary. The water horse tradition makes Nessie feel less like a sudden invention and more like the latest mask worn by an older Highland fear. The Kelpie image warned children away from dangerous water. Long before safety signs, stories did important work. The Kelpie taught children that beautiful or strange things near water could be deadly. It turned caution into a creature that could be remembered. In many versions, the being appeared as a horse and lured people too close. That may sound far from the modern monster, but the connection is emotional and practical. Lochs and rivers can be dangerous, especially for children who do not understand currents, depth, or cold. A frightening story can keep someone alive. This gives the Nessie legend a deeper social role. It is not only entertainment. It belongs to a long tradition of using mystery to create respect for the natural world. Some people take the Kelpie literally. Others see it as a teaching tool. Either way, it shows how water creatures can survive because they do more than frighten. They help communities explain why the edge of the water matters. Folklore can hide practical knowledge inside frightening creature stories. A monster tale may sound irrational until you ask what it protects. Stories about dangerous water beings can warn people away from deep places, unstable banks, and conditions they cannot judge by sight. Over time, the warning becomes easier to remember than the original lesson. A child may forget advice about depth, but remember the creature that waits below. This is where the Loch Ness legend becomes richer than a simple monster hunt. It may carry layers of observation from people who lived close to the water and understood its moods. Strange waves, sudden weather, and confusing reflections could all become part of a living tradition. That does not mean every creature story is only a disguised safety lecture. Some may begin with genuine sightings that nobody could explain. The interesting possibility is that folklore and experience are not enemies. They may be partners, turning real danger and real wonder into a story that lasts. Newspapers helped transform scattered reports into an international obsession. The modern monster needed media to become famous. Local accounts and older traditions may have existed for a long time, but newspapers gave the story speed, structure, and a much larger audience. Once reports were printed, readers far from Scotland could follow the mystery as if it were unfolding before them. Headlines turned brief sightings into public events. Each new claim made the last one feel more important. This created a feedback loop. More attention brought more watchers, and more watchers produced more reports. Skeptics argue that this is how legends inflate. Believers answer that newspapers did not invent the water, the witnesses, or every unexplained moment. They simply revealed a mystery that had been waiting for attention. The truth may sit between those views. Media did not need to create Nessie from nothing. It only had to give the legend a voice loud enough for the world to hear. Tourist postcards shaped the monster's long-necked public image. The creature people picture today did not form only from witness reports. It was also shaped by souvenirs, illustrations, and repeated designs. Postcards gave Nessie a friendly, recognizable outline that travelers could buy and send home. The long neck became especially powerful because it was easy to draw, easy to remember, and instantly different from ordinary lake life. Once that image spread, it began to influence expectation. People arriving at Loch Ness already knew what a monster was supposed to look like. That matters when sightings are brief or unclear. The mind can complete a shape before the eye fully understands it. Skeptics see this as evidence that culture shaped the reports. Believers may argue that the image became popular because it matched something people had truly seen. Either way, postcards helped standardize the legend. They turned a changing mystery into a familiar silhouette that could travel around the world in someone's luggage. Hollywood turned Nessie into a symbol of friendly mystery. Cinema and television changed the emotional meaning of the monster. Earlier water beast traditions could be threatening, but modern screen versions often made Nessie charming, lonely, or misunderstood. That shift helped the legend reach children and families without losing its strangeness. A frightening unknown became a creature people wanted to protect. This matters because public feeling shapes what a mystery becomes. When people love a monster, they search for it differently. They imagine discovery as friendship rather than conquest. Hollywood also simplified the image. A long neck, a rounded back, and a shy personality became the default version in popular culture. Serious researchers may find that frustrating, but it kept the subject alive for generations. The screen Nessie is not the same as the witness Nessie, and that difference is part of the fascination. One belongs to reports and arguments. The other belongs to memory, childhood, and the global idea that some mysteries should remain kind. Local businesses embraced the legend without fully controlling it. Around Loch Ness, the monster became part of daily life in a very practical way. Shops, exhibitions, tours, and signs all used the legend to attract visitors. That has led some skeptics to dismiss the whole subject as a tourist machine. The reality is more interesting. Local businesses can benefit from a legend without inventing every part of it. A community may sell souvenirs while still containing residents who are doubtful, amused, protective, or privately convinced. The mystery has become an economy, but it has never been only an economy. It slips beyond branding because witnesses keep appearing outside promotional schedules. This tension gives the place its unusual character. Nessie is both a serious question and a smiling figure on a sign. Some people come for fun and leave wondering. Others arrive as believers and discover how commercial the legend has become. The local embrace did not tame the monster. It made the monster part of the landscape. Skeptics sometimes became believers after one strange moment on the water. The most powerful conversions rarely begin with arguments. They begin with experience. Someone arrives at Loch Ness with doubt, patience, and perhaps a little amusement. Then the surface changes in a way they cannot easily explain. A shape moves. A wake appears without a visible boat. A dark form crosses the water and disappears before certainty can catch it. Afterward, the person may still understand all the skeptical explanations. They may know about birds, logs, waves, and misjudgment. But knowledge feels different after a personal encounter. This is why the legend cannot be reduced to evidence charts. It lives inside moments that happen too quickly to prove and too strongly to forget. Some people who once dismissed Nessie have left the loch with a more open mind, not because they found proof, but because they met uncertainty directly. That kind of experience is difficult to share, yet it keeps belief emotionally powerful. Believers sometimes became skeptics after years of careful searching. The opposite journey is just as important. Some people begin with excitement and conviction, then spend years watching, measuring, comparing, and waiting. Over time, the absence of clear evidence can change them. A long search teaches patience, but it can also sharpen doubt. Patterns emerge. Mistakes become easier to recognize. A dramatic shape becomes a boat wake. A monster photograph becomes a problem of scale. This does not always destroy wonder. In many cases, it replaces one kind of wonder with another. The loch itself becomes fascinating enough without needing a hidden giant. The shift from belief to skepticism can feel disappointing from the outside, yet it adds honesty to the story. It shows that the mystery has been tested by people who wanted it to be real. Their doubt carries weight because it was earned slowly. Loch Ness is not only a place where skeptics are converted. It is also where believers learn how difficult belief can be. The official sightings register preserves reports that would otherwise vanish. A mystery depends on memory, and memory disappears unless someone writes it down. The sightings register gives structure to experiences that might otherwise remain private stories told once, then forgotten. Each report becomes a small piece of the larger record. Some are dramatic, some are cautious, some may be mistakes. The value lies in the pattern created over time. When people report dates, locations, weather, behavior, and duration, future researchers can compare accounts instead of relying on rumor alone. Of course, a register does not prove that every sighting is accurate. It preserves claims, not certainty. But preservation matters because the Loch Ness story is built from accumulated human attention. Without records, the legend would become vague and shapeless. With them, it remained searchable, debatable, and alive. Every entry says that someone saw something they considered worth reporting. In a case this elusive, even that decision becomes part of the evidence. Many accounts come from ordinary people with little to gain. One reason the legend remains compelling is the character of many witnesses. They are not all performers, hoaxers, or professional monster hunters. Some are visitors, workers, residents, boaters, or families who happen to be looking at the water at the wrong moment. Many gained no obvious reward from speaking. In fact, reporting a sighting can invite jokes, doubt, and unwanted attention. That does not make every account true, but it complicates the idea that the whole mystery is driven by fame. Ordinary testimony carries a different kind of force. A person may be mistaken, yet sincere. They may describe something honestly, while misjudging distance or scale. The most interesting cases often sit there, between honesty and uncertainty. The witness does not need to be lying for the report to remain unexplained. Loch Ness survives partly because so many stories begin with someone who had no reason to become part of the legend. Hoaxes thrive because the loch already feels impossible to verify. A good hoax needs the right environment, and Loch Ness offers one of the best. The water is dark. Distances are difficult. The public already expects something strange. A vague shape can become famous if it arrives with a convincing story. This does not mean the entire legend is false. It means the mystery creates perfect cover for deception. Hoaxers can exploit the space between what people want to see and what evidence actually shows. That is why every new image or video enters the world under suspicion. The history of fake clues has made trust harder. Yet the presence of hoaxes also reveals something important. People do not fake things nobody cares about. The effort to deceive shows how powerful the legend has become. Some people see hoaxes as proof that Nessie is nonsense. Others see them as noise around a deeper signal. Either way, fakery is now woven into the hunt. Misidentifications thrive because distance changes scale across dark water. The loch is a master of visual confusion. A small object far away can seem large. A nearby ripple can appear distant. Without a clear reference point, the mind struggles to measure what the eye is seeing. Dark water makes the problem worse because it hides the lower part of anything at the surface. A bird, branch, otter, or wave can lose its ordinary context and take on a new identity. This is one of the strongest skeptical explanations, and it deserves respect. Many sightings probably begin with real things seen under misleading conditions. But the idea also shows why the legend is so hard to kill. Misidentification does not feel like error in the moment. It feels like discovery. The witness sees movement, size, and shape as immediate facts. Only later does doubt arrive. Loch Ness turns perception into a puzzle, and every honest mistake still adds another layer to the story. Weather can make a calm surface become suddenly deceptive. Conditions on the loch can change quickly, and that matters more than casual visitors realize. A smooth surface may begin to ripple in one area while another remains still. Wind can travel unevenly across the water. Light can shift behind cloud cover and alter the apparent shape of a disturbance. A witness might think they are seeing something rise when they are actually seeing the surface reorganize. This explanation is not a weak dismissal. It is a reminder that the setting is active. Weather can create motion, contrast, and surprise without any animal being present. Yet the most intriguing reports often come from people who insist they watched the object move against the expected pattern. That is where the argument remains open. Did the weather create the sighting, or did it merely hide something more unusual? At Loch Ness, the sky and water work together, and sometimes they make certainty almost impossible. The Great Glen's shape can funnel wind in surprising ways. The long, straight valley around Loch Ness does more than provide a dramatic setting. It can influence how wind moves across the water. Air may be channeled along the glen, creating surface patterns that appear sudden, directional, or strangely localized. This helps explain why wakes or ripples may arise in ways that confuse observers. A person looking from the shore might see a line moving across the loch and search for a boat, only to find none. The landscape itself may be shaping the surface. Skeptics find this important because it gives a natural source for some monster-like movements. Believers reply that wind cannot account for every claimed body, neck, or deliberate dive. Still, the valley matters because it reminds us that sightings are never isolated from place. The legend is not only about water. It is about the entire shape of the Highlands pressing weather into motion. Urquhart Castle gives many sightings a dramatic and familiar backdrop. The ruined castle on the shore has become one of the most recognizable places in the Loch Ness story. Its presence gives sightings a setting that people can picture immediately. A dark shape on the water already feels strange. Put ancient stone behind it, and the moment gains historical weight. This backdrop also matters practically because visitors often gather there with cameras ready. More watchers mean more chances for reports, photographs, and mistaken impressions. The castle area offers broad views across the loch, which can be useful and deceptive at the same time. Distance stretches. Scale shifts. A disturbance may seem closer or larger than it is. For filmmakers, tourists, and monster hunters, the place is irresistible. It makes the mystery feel staged by history itself. Whether the creature appears there more often or people simply watch more carefully there, the result is the same. The castle has become part of Nessie's public face. Foyers became linked to several early pieces of Nessie evidence. The area around Foyers holds an important place in the development of the modern legend. Some early reports and pieces of evidence were associated with that side of the loch, giving it a special charge in the story. This matters because locations can become magnets for meaning. Once a place is linked to strange events, later visitors watch it differently. Every disturbance feels more significant. Every account gains weight from the ones before it. Foyers also reminds us that the mystery is not evenly spread across a blank map. Certain stretches of shoreline have their own reputations, shaped by access, visibility, local memory, and historical accident. Skeptics might say that famous spots create expectation, which then creates more reports. Believers might say repeated attention gathers where activity has truly occurred. Either way, the place became one of the names woven into the early monster hunt. It helped give the legend geography, not just atmosphere. Dawes Beach remains a gathering place for dedicated monster watchers. At the northern end of the loch, Dawes offers a wide view that has attracted serious watchers as well as curious visitors. It is not only a scenic stop. It has become a place where people wait, scan the surface, and imagine the moment when the water might change. The beach is strongly associated with long-term observation, especially through figures who made watching the loch part of their daily existence. That kind of dedication matters because most visitors only glance for a few minutes. A watcher who returns day after day learns the normal moods of the water. They may become harder to fool, or they may become more sensitive to unusual details. Skeptics and believers can both respect that commitment. Dawes represents the human side of the mystery. It is where curiosity becomes routine, and where waiting itself becomes a form of belief. Fort Augustus offers some of the loch's most watched waters. At the southern end, this village sits where canal traffic, tourism and open views make the water especially noticeable. People gather there, boats move through, and cameras are often ready. That means many eyes pass over the surface each day. In a mystery built on glimpses, attention matters. A strange wake or dark form seen near a busy location can spread quickly because there are more witnesses available. At the same time, the same activity creates more chances for confusion. Boats leave, wakes. Reflections shift around moving vessels. Visitors who are already thinking about Nessie may interpret ordinary disturbances with extra excitement. This makes the area a perfect example of the whole Loch Ness problem. More observation should increase the chance of evidence, but it also increases the chance of mistakes. Fort Augustus keeps the legend visible because it places the mystery beside everyday movement, where the unknown can appear right next to the familiar. Drumnadroche became the unofficial capital of the Nessie industry. The village sits close to the loch's most famous stretch of monster country, and over time it became one of the main places where curiosity turns into pilgrimage. Visitors arrive for exhibitions, boat trips, souvenirs, and the feeling that they are entering the center of the mystery. That matters because legends need gathering points. A remote lake can inspire wonder, but a village gives that wonder a doorway. Drumnadroche became the place where sightings, arguments, local memory, and tourism could meet in public. Some skeptics see this as evidence that the monster is now mostly a business, but that is too simple. A commercial setting does not erase the strange reports that brought people there in the first place. It only shows that mystery has gravity. When enough people wonder about something, a whole village can become part of the question. Drumnadroche proves that Nessie is not only seen on the water. She is also found in the culture built beside it. Long-term watchers have logged patterns that casual visitors miss. A person who glances at the loch for 5 minutes sees only a surface. A person who returns day after day begins to notice habits. They learn how wind moves across certain areas, how boat traffic changes the water, and how light alters distance at different times. This kind of patience gives dedicated observers an unusual role in the mystery. They may become better at dismissing ordinary disturbances. They may also become more alert to the rare moment that does not fit. Skeptics can argue that constant watching, increases the chance of seeing meaning where none exists. Believers answer that careful familiarity is exactly what makes an unusual event stand out. The truth may depend on the watcher. Some become more cautious. Others become more convinced. Either way, their records offer something a casual tourist cannot provide. They turn the loch from a postcard view into a long, slow experiment in attention. Webcam sightings created a new era of remote Nessie hunting. The monster hunt no longer requires standing on the shore. Cameras pointed at Loch Ness allow people around the world to scan the water from bedrooms, offices, and late-night screens. That changes the mystery in a remarkable way. Nessie becomes a shared watch, unfolding in real time across distance. A strange dark mark can be captured, clipped, and debated within hours. This has opened the hunt to people who may never visit Scotland, and it has created fresh reports from viewers who notice odd shapes on live feeds. But webcams also bring new problems. Low resolution, changing light, rain on lenses, insects, birds, and compression can create misleading forms. A tiny glitch may become a creature if the viewer is already hoping. Still, the format is fascinating because it turns the legend into a global vigil. The loch is being watched more than ever, yet the answer remains just as slippery. Digital images now raise questions about pixels, compression, and scale. Modern evidence often looks sharper at first, but digital technology brings its own fog. A phone or webcam can flatten distance, exaggerate contrast, and create strange blocky shapes when an image is compressed. Enlarging the picture may not reveal hidden detail. It may simply enlarge the error. This matters because many recent Nessie claims depend on small marks on a screen. Viewers debate whether they are seeing a body, a wake, an animal, or a digital artifact. The mystery has moved from dark rooms to software, and the old questions have changed form. Is the image unclear because the creature was far away, or because the file itself has damaged the truth? Some people trust digital footage because it feels immediate. Others distrust it because it can be altered so easily. Loch Ness has adapted to the age of pixels. The monster still appears at the edge of vision, only now that edge is often a screen. Smartphone footage increased sightings, but also increased uncertainty. Almost everyone carries a camera now, which should have changed the Loch Ness story completely. In theory, a strange object on the water ought to be filmed quickly and shared widely. That has happened many times, yet the mystery has not become clearer. Instead, the flood of clips has created a new problem. More cameras mean more evidence, but not necessarily better evidence. Phones shake in excited hands. Zoom reduces detail. Reflections become more dramatic through a small lens. A distant bird or boat wake can look strangely alive on a tiny screen. At the same time, witnesses can capture moments that would once have vanished into memory alone. This makes the modern era both promising and frustrating. The monster has more chances to be recorded than ever before, but every recording enters a world of doubt. The camera in the pocket did not end Nessie. It gave the legend more material to argue over. Drone searches brought new angles without ending the mystery. From above, Loch Ness looks different. A drone can scan shorelines, follow disturbances, and reveal patterns that are difficult to judge from ground level. This seemed like a breakthrough for monster hunters. If something large moved near the surface, an aerial camera might catch its outline before it disappeared. Drones have indeed produced striking views and occasional oddities, but they have not delivered final proof. Part of the reason is scale. The loch is long, deep, and constantly changing. A drone covers only a piece of it at any one time. Battery life, weather, distance, and legal restrictions all limit the search. Still, the technology adds a fresh dimension. It reduces some illusions while creating others, especially when shadows and underwater features appear from above. The sky has joined the hunt, and even that has not been enough. Nessie remains a problem that cannot be solved by simply looking from a better angle. Thermal cameras promised clarity but still met the loch's darkness. Heat-sensing equipment sounds ideal for finding a hidden animal. A living body should stand out against cold water, at least in theory. That promise made thermal searches exciting because they seemed less dependent on ordinary visibility. Yet the real world is complicated. Water absorbs and masks heat quickly. Surface temperatures shift. Rocks, birds, boats, and shoreline objects can create confusing readings. A large creature beneath the surface might not show clearly at all. This is why thermal imaging has not closed the case. It can help identify some things, but it cannot make the loch transparent. The technology also changes the mystery in an interesting way. Instead of asking what a witness saw, it asks what an instrument detected, and whether that signal means what people hope it means. Some searches have produced curiosity rather than certainty. The equipment brought a new language to the legend, but the loch still refused to speak plainly. Hydrophones introduced the possibility of unexplained sounds below the surface. The mystery is usually imagined as something seen, but listening changes everything. Hydrophones can pick up underwater sounds that human ears would never hear from the shore. Boats, fish, geological movement, bubbles, and equipment noise all create acoustic confusion. Yet the idea of unknown calls or movements beneath Loch Ness is deeply compelling. If a hidden creature existed, sound might reveal it before sight ever could. Some researchers have listened for unusual signals, hoping to separate ordinary lake noise from something harder to explain. The difficulty is interpretation. A strange sound is not automatically a monster. It may be mechanical, natural, or distorted by the water itself. Still, the thought expands the legend. Nessie may not only be a shape glimpsed in the distance. It may be a presence sensed through vibrations in the dark. Listening to the loch feels like asking a question without knowing what language the answer will use. Submersibles explored the depths and found a haunting underwater landscape. When small craft descended into Loch Ness, they did not reveal a monster waiting in plain sight. What they found was almost as important for the imagination. The bottom appeared cold, dark, and difficult, with steep slopes, sediment, and a world far removed from the tourist surface above. This deep environment helps explain why the legend feels physically possible to so many people. Even when no creature appears, the place itself looks capable of hiding things. Submersible exploration also reminds us that the loch is not a simple bowl. It contains contours, debris, shadows, and spaces that complicate any search. A camera can pass through one area while another remains untouched. A small object can look strange. A large object can be missed if it is somewhere else. The descent into the depths did not solve the mystery, but it gave people a view of the stage where the most secret version of the story would unfold. Old film reels may still contain overlooked clues. Before smartphones and digital archives, sightings were captured on film that was often copied poorly, stored casually, or viewed through the assumptions of its time. That leaves an intriguing possibility. Some old footage may contain details that earlier viewers missed. Modern enhancement can stabilize images, compare frames, and reveal movement patterns more carefully than older equipment allowed. It can also create false confidence by making unclear material look more meaningful than it really is. The value of old film lies in its stubborn physicality. It was made before today's easy editing tools, which can give it a certain credibility. But age does not guarantee truth. Scratches, grain, exposure problems, and camera shake can create mysteries of their own. Still, the archive remains tempting. Somewhere in a forgotten reel, a distant shape may have been dismissed too quickly. The past may not be finished speaking. It may only need to be watched again with better eyes. Archive reports sometimes reveal sightings forgotten for decades. Not every strange account became famous. Many were recorded in local papers, private letters, old registers, and conversations that never reached the wider world. When these reports reappear, they can change the feel of the mystery. A forgotten sighting may contain a detail that matches later accounts. It may also show how people described the creature before popular images became fixed. That is valuable because early language can be less contaminated by expectation. Of course, archives also preserve mistakes, rumors, and exaggerations. Age does not make a report true. But it can make it interesting in a different way. It shows what people thought was worth noting before the legend became polished by tourism and television. The deeper the archive goes, the more the monster becomes a historical pattern rather than a modern performance. Each rediscovered account is like a small light turned back on. It reminds us that the mystery has many lost witnesses. Family stories around the loch keep private encounters alive. Some accounts never enter official records because they stay inside families. A grandparent tells a story. A parent repeats it later. A child grows up knowing that someone they trusted once saw something strange on the water. These private traditions are difficult to verify, but they matter because they preserve the emotional life of the legend. A family story is not shaped for headlines in the same way a public claim might be. It may be quieter, more cautious, and more tied to place. That can make it feel sincere, even when details have shifted over time. Skeptics note that memory changes with repetition, and a small event can grow larger across generations. Believers argue that families often protect genuine experiences precisely because they do not want ridicule. The private Nessie story is powerful because it lives outside the tourist display. It suggests that the loch has a hidden record carried in ordinary homes. Fishermen often describe the water differently from visiting tourists. People who work or spend serious time on the loch tend to notice things visitors miss. They understand how wind, depth, boats, and wildlife can create deceptive signs. That makes their testimony especially interesting. When an experienced person dismisses a sighting, it carries weight. When that same kind of person reports something unusual, it can feel harder to brush aside. Fishermen and regular boat users may recognize ordinary wakes, known animals, and weather changes almost immediately. Their baseline is different from a tourist's, yet they are not immune to surprise. A person who knows the water well may be more disturbed by an event that breaks the normal pattern. This creates one of the strongest categories of witness in the Nessie story. Expertise does not prove the monster, but it changes the conversation. A strange report from someone familiar with the loch feels less like a holiday misunderstanding and more like a disturbance in a known world. Night sightings feel stranger because the loch loses all scale. After dark, familiar reference points disappear. The far shore becomes harder to judge. A small sound can seem close, while a distant movement can feel enormous. This makes night reports both thrilling and unreliable. A witness may see a shape cross the water, but without light, scale becomes a guess. The mind fills gaps quickly when it feels uncertain. That is why skeptics treat nighttime sightings with caution. Yet the darkness also creates the kind of conditions in which an elusive animal, if one existed, might be more active or less easily noticed. Some people argue that the best time to see something rare is precisely when normal observation is weakest. That tension makes night accounts so compelling. They are fragile as evidence, but powerful as experience. Standing by Loch Ness in darkness, hearing water move without understanding why, is enough to make even a doubtful person feel the old question return. Early morning reports often involve still water and sudden movement. The first hours of the day can make the loch seem easier to read. There may be less boat activity, fewer voices, and a smoother surface. That is why morning sightings can feel especially dramatic. A disturbance appears against calm water, and the contrast makes it stand out. Witnesses often remember the suddenness. One moment the loch seems empty. The next, something breaks the pattern. Skeptics point out that morning light can create illusions, especially when mist, low sun, and distant birds enter the scene. But the quietness of the setting also reduces some ordinary explanations. Fewer boats mean fewer wakes. A still surface makes movement more noticeable. This is why early reports are so appealing to monster hunters. They seem to offer the loch at its most honest, just before the day becomes busy. Whether the movement is animal, water, or misread light, the moment feels like a secret briefly exposed. Some sightings cluster near places where currents behave unusually. Patterns matter in a mystery, but they must be handled carefully. When reports seem to gather around certain parts of the loch, one explanation is that something unusual is happening there. It could involve water flow, underwater shape, wind behavior, or the way waves interact with the shoreline. Such places may produce more strange visual effects than calmer stretches. Skeptics find this useful because it explains clusters without requiring a creature to prefer those spots. Believers see the same pattern differently. They wonder whether a hidden animal might use certain routes, feeding areas, or sheltered zones. The evidence can support more than one story because the pattern itself is real enough to ask questions about, even when the cause remains debated. A cluster is not proof. It is a clue about where attention should go. Loch Ness feels less random when sightings gather, and that makes the map of the mystery more intriguing. The monster's shape changes depending on era, culture, and expectation. Early descriptions, folklore images, newspaper reports, and modern media do not always agree on what the creature looks like. Sometimes it is serpentine. Sometimes it has humps. Sometimes it resembles a long-necked reptile. At other times, it is only a dark, moving mass. This shifting form is a major challenge for anyone seeking one biological answer. Skeptics argue that changing descriptions reveal changing expectations. People see through the stories available to them. Believers may answer that different witnesses see different parts of a real animal under different conditions for only a few seconds at a time. There is also a more intriguing possibility. Nessie may be a name given to several different phenomena, gathered under one famous identity. The changing shape does not weaken the legend as storytelling. It makes it more human. The monster becomes a mirror of what each generation is prepared to imagine rising from the water. Medieval descriptions differ sharply from the modern plesiosaur image. When older water beast stories are compared with the familiar long-necked version, the differences are striking. Medieval accounts often carry religious meaning, moral warning, or supernatural force. They are not written like modern field reports. They do not carefully measure bodies, fins, or speed. This creates a problem for people who want a straight line from ancient beast to modern Nessie. The old stories may not describe the same thing at all. Yet the contrast is fascinating because it shows how a mystery changes shape as culture changes. A dangerous spiritual creature can become a hidden animal. A warning tale can become a biological puzzle. Some people see this as proof that the legend is mostly cultural. Others think the same unknown reality may have been interpreted through different beliefs over time. The medieval material does not give us a clean monster. It gives us a glimpse of how earlier minds understood strange water. Victorian sea serpent reports may have influenced Nessie's appearance. Before Nessie became world famous, the public already knew another kind of monster story. Sea serpent reports appeared in newspapers, sailors' accounts, and popular discussions during earlier centuries. These creatures were often described as long, strange, and difficult to classify. By the time Loch Ness entered the modern spotlight, readers were ready for the idea of a large, unknown animal in water. That cultural background may have shaped how people described and received the monster. A witness might see an unclear form, while the public imagination supplied a familiar category. This does not prove the sightings were invented. It shows that mystery never arrives in an empty room. Earlier stories prepare the audience. Some believers argue that sea serpent accounts and Nessie reports could point toward a wider, hidden reality. Skeptics see a tradition of misidentification traveling from ocean to lake. Either way, the Victorian monster world helped make Nessie easier to believe. Ancient marine reptile ideas entered the story through popular imagination. The link between Nessie and prehistoric reptiles did not arise only from evidence. It was strengthened by museum displays, fossil discoveries, books, films, and the public fascination with extinct animals. Once people learned that long-necked marine reptiles had once existed, it became tempting to see Loch Ness as a possible refuge. The idea is scientifically difficult, but emotionally powerful. It makes the monster feel like a living fossil. It connects a dark Scottish lake to the deep past of Earth. That connection captured imaginations because it offered more than an unknown animal. It offered survival against all expectation. Critics argued that the timeline, environment, and lack of remains make the theory highly unlikely. Yet the image persists because it is easy to understand and hard to forget. Popular imagination gave Nessie a prehistoric costume, and that costume became so convincing that many people still picture it before hearing any evidence. Paranormal writers have linked Nessie to portals and vanished creatures. Some interpretations step far outside ordinary zoology. In these versions, the monster is not a breeding animal hiding in deep water. It is a temporary appearance, perhaps entering our world through some unknown opening. This idea tries to explain why the creature is seen, yet never clearly found. It also links Nessie to broader stories of creatures that appear briefly, confuse witnesses, then vanish without leaving normal evidence. Mainstream researchers do not accept portal theories as proof-based explanations, but they remain attractive to people who feel the conventional choices are too narrow. A hoax seems too cynical. A fish seems too small. A dinosaur seems too difficult. A doorway between realities sounds wild, but it answers the emotional shape of the mystery. Something appears where it should not be, then disappears as if it never belonged there. For the speculative mind, Loch Ness becomes less like a habitat and more like a crossing point. UFO researchers sometimes connect Loch Ness to broader hidden phenomena. The connection may sound surprising, but it follows a familiar pattern in fringe thinking. Places with repeated strange sightings often become linked together, even when the phenomena appear different. A lake monster, an unexplained light, and a strange encounter may be treated as pieces of one larger puzzle. Some UFO researchers have looked at Loch Ness through that lens, wondering whether the creature story belongs to a wider world of hidden activity. This is not a mainstream explanation, and it does not rest on firm evidence. Its appeal comes from pattern seeking. If reality contains unknown visitors in the sky, perhaps it also contains unknown presences in water. Skeptics call this a leap across unrelated mysteries. Enthusiasts call it connecting dots that others refuse to see. The idea adds a strange expansion to the legend. Nessie stops being only a local creature and becomes part of a bigger question about what humans fail to notice. Leyline theories place the Loch inside a larger mystery map. Some speculative writers have imagined invisible lines of energy crossing landscapes, connecting ancient sites, unusual events, and places of repeated legend. Loch Ness has sometimes been drawn into this kind of thinking because it already feels charged with history and mystery. In this view, the monster is not just an animal in a lake. It is a sign that the location itself is unusual. The idea is not supported by conventional geography, but it has a strong narrative pull. People enjoy the thought that strange events cluster for a reason deeper than chance. A map with hidden lines makes the world feel patterned, even when the pattern is disputed. Skeptics see coincidence and selective attention. Believers see a structure that modern thinking has forgotten how to read. Leyline theories do not prove Nessie, but they show how the legend keeps expanding. The loch becomes a point on a secret diagram. Some fringe accounts describe lights moving over the water, reports of unusual lights and a different texture to the Loch Ness story. They do not fit neatly with the idea of a hidden animal, yet they appear in the wider folklore that gathers around mysterious places. A light over the water may have many ordinary causes. It could be a boat, a car, a reflection, a distant building, or an atmospheric effect. Still, some accounts describe movement that felt strange to the observer. This is where the legend drifts toward the paranormal edge. If a place is already famous for one mystery, people become more alert to other anomalies nearby. Skeptics warn that this creates a collection effect, where unrelated events are pulled into the Nessie story. But for those who enjoy broader possibilities, the lights are intriguing. They suggest the loch may host more than one category of unknown experience. The monster might be the headline, while stranger details move around it. The Boleskine House connection added occult intrigue to the shoreline. On the southeastern side of Loch Ness stood a house that became famous for reasons far beyond the monster. Its associations with ritual magic, secrecy, and later celebrity ownership gave the shoreline an entirely different kind of reputation. For many visitors, this added a darker layer to the already strange landscape. The monster story concerns the water. The Boleskine story concerns human attempts to contact forces beyond ordinary life. Put them beside each other, and the imagination naturally begins to connect them. There is no solid reason to say the house created Nessie sightings. Yet legends rarely stay in separate boxes. A mysterious lake near a place of occult reputation becomes irresistible to people who look for hidden patterns. Skeptics see coincidence and storytelling. Others wonder whether certain places gather unusual attention because something about them feels different. The connection does not solve Loch Ness. It gives the shore another reason to feel watched. Aleister Crowley's former home gave the legend a darker footnote. The occultist Aleister Crowley lived for a time at Boleskine House, and his presence left a reputation that still clings to the area. He is not part of the core monster evidence, but his association with the loch adds a strange cultural side path. People who enjoy alternative histories often notice when famous mysteries overlap with controversial figures. Crowley's name brings ideas of ritual, hidden knowledge, and forbidden curiosity. That tone naturally intensifies the folklore around the shoreline. It also shows how legends collect meanings from nearby stories. Nessie did not need Crowley to become famous, and his life does not prove anything about a creature in the water. But the connection gives the region a feeling of layered mystery. A visitor can stand near Loch Ness and think not only of unknown animals, but of people who believed reality itself could be opened. That is a powerful footnote, even if it remains only a footnote. Local caution keeps many residents quieter than visitors expect. People who live near a famous mystery often have a more complicated relationship with it than outsiders imagine. Visitors may arrive eager for dramatic stories, but residents know the cost of being laughed at, misquoted, or turned into entertainment. Some may have seen odd things and chosen not to report them. Others may be tired of the subject entirely. This local caution matters because it suggests the public record may not contain every experience. A person who depends on community trust might not want to be known as someone who saw the monster. Silence can protect privacy. It can also hide useful testimony. Skeptics might say that unreported sightings cannot count as evidence. That is fair. But silence is still part of the culture around the loch. The mystery is not only shaped by what people say, it is also shaped by what they decide to keep to themselves. The mystery survives because every explanation leaves something unfinished. The power of Loch Ness lies in the way no answer covers everything comfortably. Hoaxes explain some famous evidence, but not every sincere account. Misidentification explains many sightings, but not every reported detail. Natural effects explain strange water, but not every claim of deliberate movement. Large animal theories are exciting, but they struggle with evidence, food, and biology. Paranormal ideas are imaginative, but they remain beyond ordinary proof. The result is not a clean verdict. It is a puzzle with too many partial answers. That is why the legend has endured for so long. Each explanation solves a corner, then leaves another corner untouched. Some people see this as proof that nothing is there except confusion. Others see it as the exact shape of a real mystery. Loch Ness does not need one perfect piece of evidence to remain fascinating. It survives because every attempt to close the case leaves a small opening. Nessie became famous because the evidence is never quite enough. A mystery with no evidence at all fades quickly. A mystery with perfect proof stops being a mystery. Loch Ness lives in the narrow space between those extremes. There are sightings, photographs, films, sonar traces, old stories, and modern searches. None of them settled a case. Yet together, they create a feeling that something keeps slipping just beyond reach. That is the strange genius of the legend. It gives believers enough to keep believing and skeptics enough to keep questioning. Every new claim enters a long tradition of almost proof. A shape is too blurry. A reading is too uncertain. A witness is sincere, but human. This is why Nessie became a global icon. The monster is famous not because the case is strong in a simple way, but because it is unresolved in exactly the right way. The evidence invites you closer, then refuses to let you rest. Loch Ness still feels capable of keeping one final secret. After all the searches, arguments, jokes, hoaxes, and serious investigations, the place itself remains impressive enough to humble certainty. The water is deep. The weather changes quickly. The history is long. The stories have become part of the landscape. A skeptic can stand on the shore and feel why people wonder. A believer can stand there and understand why proof is difficult. That shared feeling may be the true center of the legend. Loch Ness does not have to promise a monster every day. It only has to seem capable of hiding something. That possibility is what keeps people looking across the surface, waiting for one movement that does not fit. Maybe the answer is an animal, an illusion, a memory, or a pattern humans keep creating. Maybe it is something stranger. The loch gives no final statement. It simply remains there, dark and patient, holding the last question below the line of sight.